The movie opens on November 6, 2004, when a man named Jason Derek Brown in a lavish Cadillac arrives at a pawnshop to sell some items that he recently robbed. As he enters the shop, he begins his emotional drama in front of the shop owner while giving him a watch and a ring, saying that his parents died leaving these belongings for him. He tells the owner how badly he needs the money. The owner offers to pay him $1,000 in exchange, to which Jason doesn't agree and decides to leave the shop, but he gets stopped by the owner, who offers him $1,500. Suddenly Jason sees some debtors outside the shop who have tracked him, and he instantly asks the shopkeeper to make a deal of $2,000, and he agrees. Jason takes the money without counting them and rushes through the shop from its back door before the debtors catch him. Cut to the scene when FBI agents attend a meeting aiming at formulating a plan to find their prime suspect, Jason Derek Brown, who has many addresses in the USA and doesn't stay in one place for very long. After assigning different officers their responsibilities, Agent Lance Lysing begins his search for Jason. A few days ago, Lysing talked to a woman named Melanie, who lives in the same neighborhood where Jason recently lived. During the investigation, Melanie revealed that Jason had arrived in her neighborhood 18 months earlier, and she knew him very well. He had a charming personality and was very good with kids, and he treated her son as his best friend. Whenever Melanie needed a favor, Jason was always there to help her, and he eventually moved in with her. Upon asking, Melanie revealed that Jason told her he and his brother used to import and export golf equipment for their living. Lysing asked if Melanie and Jason had an intimate relationship, to which she lied that they didn't. She also told the agent that he left her home saying that his brother's wife was sick with breast cancer and he wanted to spend some time with them. To this, Lysing told her that Jason always lied to her as his brother's wife Amy was completely healthy, and he left because he didn't want to pay the rent. All the luxury items, money, and even his BMW and Cadillac weren't his, but he stole them, making him a wanted criminal in the USA. However, Melanie didn't believe it. In the present day, Lysing meets Jason's sister Jamie for investigation, and she reveals that Jason used to be very innocent in his childhood and his personality shift is because of their dad. She reveals that their parents got divorced, and their father used to blame their mother for not fighting for her children's custody and leaving all the responsibility on him. Jamie used to ask her dad to let her meet her mom, but he would never let her do that. Instead, he used to reward Jason with money for not asking to meet his mother. That practice made Jason habitual and hungry for money, and he began using unfair means to earn it. Some days ago, Jason went to a club and spent some time with a girl but didn't have money to pay her, so the owner kicked him out. As he was kicked out, some debtors saw him, and he tried running away but was eventually caught by them and beaten severely. The debtors demanded Jason $80,000 in the next 3 days or else they would kill him, and Jason agreed to pay them the loan. For this, Jason went to a bank asking for a mortgage loan, but the bank owner told him they couldn't provide their services to him. Instead, he advised Jason to flee the town, and Jason left the office in disappointment. The next thing Jason did was meet his mother and try to manipulate her to get money. When Jason went to her home, the first thing she did was scold Jason for not calling her before his arrival. As Jason got inside, he told her that he was earning tons of money due to his successful business those days, and his company's investors were making a 200% return on their investments. Then he offered his mother to invest $20,000 in his business, and by the next year, he would quadruple her investment. In response, his mother told him that he didn't visit her home for 3 straight years, and today when he finally came, he had the audacity to ask for $20,000. She told him that she knew there was no business, no investors, no profits, and everything that Jason apparently owned was someone else's. Jason told her that he was in trouble and his life was at risk, but his mother didn't pay him the money. Seeing no positive response, Jason cursed at his mother, making her slap his son and order him to leave the house. That night, Jason went to the pawnshop to sell some robbed items after practicing his emotional lines many times in his luxurious Cadillac. In the present day, during the investigation, Jamie reveals that 10 years ago, Jason didn't have any criminal record and used to live peacefully with his wife. To this, Lysing asks her if their father also went missing 10 years ago in 1994, and Jamie is dumbfounded. Then Jamie reveals that 10 years ago when their father went missing, she arrived at their home where Jason and their brother, David, were busy taking the luggage out of their home and putting it in a truck. Jamie tried asking them the reason behind this, but they asked her not to get involved. She repeatedly asked them where their father was, but they themselves didn't know where he could be. Jason told Jamie not to worry and tried to console her by saying they should be hopeful about their father's return. After that, David and Jason left somewhere in the truck, and to this day, Jamie doesn't have a clue where her father is. On November 11th, Jason is seen at an ATM where his transaction is not processed, and then he sees an armored truck as his next robbery target. He searches online the ways of doing an armored truck robbery and prepares himself completely by buying a gun named Glock from a nearby gun store. As he buys the gun, his identity, including his picture, fingerprints, and other contact-related information, is taken as a record. Through this information, Agent Lysing tracks the address Jason provided, leading him to the apartment of a person named Kyle. As Kyle sees the FBI agents around his apartment, he tries running away, but the agents catch him immediately and take him to his apartment for investigation. Lysing asks Kyle, showing Jason's picture, if he knows the guy, and Kyle lies that he doesn't. To this, Lysing tells him that Jason provided the address of this apartment when he bought a Glock. Kyle then tells him the truth that he met Jason when Jason offered to have fun with him, and they both used to take drugs in Kyle's apartment. Kyle became his friend as Jason was a fun guy to party with, but one day, Jason told Kyle about his plan to rob an armored truck parked outside a theater. He told Kyle that he had been keeping an eye on a guard carrying a money-filled box to the truck every day. According to his plan, he aimed to carry out the heist on the Monday morning following Thanksgiving. Jason calculated a rough estimate of $300,000, which he believed could be inside the box, and asked Kyle's assistance in executing the mission. When Jason revealed that he would first kill the guard and then take the money, Kyle became angry with him and refused his offer. Jason then threatened Kyle to death by pointing a gun at him, and Kyle became scared. However, then Jason revealed that the gun was empty and he was just joking. This enraged Kyle, pushing Jason out of his apartment, and he also left, making fun of Kyle. After that incident, Jason called Kyle 16 times. After that, Lysing asks other officers to arrest Kyle, making him annoyed. According to Melanie's statement to Lysing, Jason called her 10 days before Thanksgiving and requested to stay in her home for some days, and she gladly accepted the request. After all, she and her son were happy to see Jason a year later, and they didn't mind keeping him as a guest in their home. During these days, Jason used to note the timings of his targeted truck's arrival at the theater, and he used to calculate even the differences of seconds. To Melanie's displeasure, Jason left her home on Thanksgiving, saying that he needed to spend that day with his sister. This saddened Melanie and her son, but she had no other option but to let go of him. Lysing tells her that Jason lied to her again as he didn't celebrate Thanksgiving with his sister. Instead, he spent the day alone at a motel 5 miles away from her home. Lysing even shows her a picture of Jason in the motel, but she rejects the evidence, saying that this is not the Jason she knows. The same day after talking to Melanie, Lysing meets with Jason's brother David and tells him that his brother had a habit of telling people about his business of import and export that he used to run with his brother. David denies any knowledge of it, and then the scene shifts to 2000 when David helps Jason rob a golf club. As they were in the golf club, Jason stole some equipment, and David didn't tell the owner about it. As David and Jason left the club, the cops followed them, and seeing this, David panicked as his marriage was near and Amy would leave him, knowing that the police had caught David in a robbery attempt. To save his brother, Jason got out of the car, took all the blame on himself, and spent the nights in jail. The scene transitions to the Monday morning after Thanksgiving when Jason sets out on a bicycle toward the theater, where his targeted truck will arrive soon. As Jason arrives at the theater, he hides somewhere and waits for the guard to come outside with a box full of money. As the guard comes out, Jason loads his gun and shoots him many times before he takes the money and flees on his bike. He throws his bike on his way and then reaches the motel he resides in. As he opens the box, he learns that it has only $56,000, which is quite less than he expected. Then Jason receives a call from Melanie and lies to her that he spent the weekend with his family. After that, he flees in a BMW, and cops can only find the abandoned bicycle he left on his way to his motel. He parks the BMW in his storage unit and then arrives at his brother's home in his Cadillac, where he asks him a favor. Jason asks David to get his BMW to a shop and have it detailed, to which David asks him the reason behind it. Jason doesn't tell him the reason, and David refuses to grant any favor to him as he already owes him $20,000. Jason reminds him of the time when he spent the nights in jail and saved David's married life. However, today he doesn't meet his wife, Amy, and gets no chance even to see his nieces. David still doesn't accept his request, and Jason leaves in disappointment. As he leaves, David has a change of heart, and he asks for the car's keys, and Jason hugs him crying. After that, Jason goes to his sister in his Cadillac and stays at her home. The next morning, as Jason wakes up, he gets a call from David telling him that he is on the news everywhere for murdering a guard and taking away a box full of money. Jason is shocked to learn that, and the news reaches Melanie, Jason's mother, and Jamie. When Jamie confronts Jason for killing a man because of money, he lies to her, saying that the robbery was done by his idiot friend Kyle and now he is blaming all this on him. Jason adds that he had sold his gun to Kyle, and now he is using that gun as a shred of evidence against Jason. Jason tells Jamie not to tell the cops that he was here last night and then prepares to leave Jamie's apartment. As he reaches the door, his gun falls, indicating that he didn't sell his gun to Kyle and was lying to Jamie. Jamie becomes tearful, but Jason convinces her he is telling her the truth. Later, when the FBI confronts Jamie, Lysing asks her the name of the car in which Jason fled earlier, and she lies to them that Jason went in a silver BMW. The FBI searches Jason in a silver BMW and accidentally catches David instead of their real suspect. That's how Jason disappears from the agent's eyes smoothly. When David is interrogated by Lysing, he tells him he doesn't know Jason's location. Lysing asks him to give him any clue that might lead him to Jason, and in return, Lysing will help him reduce his jail time for helping a robber. In response, David informs him that the FBI will never be able to find Jason the same way they never found their father, who went missing 10 years ago. In the meantime, Jason's mother meets with Jamie and instructs her to tell the FBI that she lied to them to save his poisonous brother. Jamie doesn't want to, but she eventually calls the FBI, telling them she lied about Jason's car. When Jamie meets Agent Lysing for the next time, she gives him a box Jason gifted her, including some items as memories of their childhood and a DVD on which he has written Jason's life. Lysing assures her that he will return all those items once Jason is caught, and then he leaves the apartment. On January 16, 2005, the FBI found Jason's Cadillac at the Portland International Airport, and their search for him continued. Almost 3 years later, on December 8, 2007, Jason's name was placed on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list, next to Osama bin Laden and Whitey Bulger. The film ends with Jason's whereabouts unknown to anyone to this day.